This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Delighted to be joined by one of my favourite people in boxing, the Don himself, Wasserman Boxing, Mr. Kalle Sauerland. How are you, sir?
Very well, KUGAN. How are you today? Are you enjoying life in the bubble?
Do you know what? I prefer to interview you when I'm about 2 foot away from you. I feel like we get more out of the interview.
Is it the electricity, the vibes in the air?
The electricity?
Smoke coming off me? Honestly, your introductions are only second to Michael Buffer's. I mean, the way you introduced, the way that the whole, presenting with MTK Global, Everlast. I mean, your list of partners is growing bigger and bigger. I mean, congratulations. Congratulations. You've got to make sure the sponsors are all seen. I mean, your list of partners is growing and growing. You know, the empire is growing, and you're looking fresh. You're looking fresh for KUG.
We can only try in life, otherwise what's the point?
Philosophical as well today. I'll tell you, this is going to be an interesting one. People listening, this is going to be very interesting. When KUGAN gets philosophical with me, I scrambled that one, it always gets interesting.
Okay, let's have a real talk here. Okay, so Chris Eubank Jr, obviously we spoke after you announced the signing of Chris Eubank Jr a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, etc. So here's my question to you. Chris Eubank is fighting Marcus Morrison. Okay, so Marcus Morrison, who's a very good fighter, he's had a few setbacks in his career, etc., but he's coming into this fight because he wants to be that person that upsets Eubank. So
that's the great thing of boxing. You have that window of opportunity.
Right, okay. So when I was talking to Chris Eubank Jr. yesterday, he referred to Marcus Morrison as a stepping stone to greater things. Is that how it's viewed from kind of your side?
My side, look, all fighters need to prepare themselves for every different fight in a different way, and that's how Chris sees it. That's how Chris sees it. For me, it's about making a statement. This year, when we announced the signing, we said this is a big year. We're going to make a comeback fight, i.e. a fight to bring him back to the UK, and then we're going to go out and make them big fights. And then big fights, whether it's Andrade, whether it's Golovkin, we're looking at obviously Billy Joe Canelo next weekend, we're looking at Murata, I've mentioned Kell Brook, you can throw them all in the mix.
I'll chuck a couple of names in there. Liam Williams, Felix Cash.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Felix Cash, fantastic performance last weekend. I think the Sims Gym's done a great job with him. He was a very talented kid. I called the fight. I said he'd had too much talent for Bentley. He did. Proved me right. And he's one for down the road, sure. But I think he's got to go through a few hurdles first, Felix Cash. But I think he's got a bright future. What was the other one that you mentioned?
Liam Williams.
Liam Williams, again, definitely one for the future. Maybe needs a fight to bring him back into the mix after the Andrade performance. I think he'll be a bit disappointed himself in that. But I think look, he's got the personality, he's got the talent to go on and do big things. For sure. So it's a very exciting time around those 160s and arguably around the 168s. Although 160s is where we see Chris at the moment.
One thing I did say to Chris yesterday in an interview that I did with him, that I said, guys like Marcus Morrison are sometimes the more dangerous opponents because there is the fear of possibly overlooking someone like Marcus Morrison. And Marcus Morrison's got, in effect, nothing to lose. So it becomes a more dangerous fight that Chris needs to be switched on, completely on it, to avoid that kind of what would be viewed as a potential upset.
And KUG, especially when most of the interviews with me are about, and I guess with him as well, are about who you're fighting this year, and he's fighting this weekend. And, I find that slightly disrespectful towards Marcus. I think, he's a good level British fighter. It's exactly the type of fight we wanted for Chris to bring him back. But this is a massive opportunity for Morrison. He'll have the eye of the tiger. And it's Chris's job to use his ruthlessness in the ring and do a job on him, you know, and make that statement and make the world stand up and say, right, okay, it means business. I said today at the presser, and I thought this was one of my finer moments in talking, was Junior is a throwback fighter, and I grew up watching, you know, the 90s boxers. Those were my sort of, especially the British fighters. Those were my idols of the 90s. And if you look at him, he's got a bit of all of them. You know, he's definitely got the warrior sort of showman-like approach to the father. Very different, similar but different. You know, in terms of his charisma. But you know, he's certainly he's Marmite. You know, you love him or you hate him, but you watch him. He's got the bang of Ben, he's got the speed of Naz, and he's got the balls of Collins, right? And I go one further and I say he's got the chin of Froch, but he, of course, would then, you know, not be happy with me because he weren't around in the 90s. But that is how I describe Chris Eubank. And what he's added to that in lockdown is he's put himself in this fight, he will have a corner. No disrespect to the corners of the past, that there have all been great people in those corners, but it's about one voice to listen to. And I think that, you know, Roy Jones, I mean, what can you say? Roy Jones Jr., I don't need to sell it, do I? What a mentor, what a legend, and you know, I think he's in a good place. But, you know, we need results this year, and that's what we're here to do.
Chris has outlined a potential fight with Gennady Golovkin as his...
Sorry, I didn't mention...
All right, we'll talk about Golovkin. We'll talk about Golovkin, who we don't know what the situation regarding when his next fight's going to be, but Chris has outlined a fight with Gennady Golovkin as his kind of goal for the end of this year. Are you going to be able to deliver that fight with Golovkin and Chris? We know the fight possibly should have taken place maybe 4 years ago. We don't need to go into that. It didn't happen. Kell Brook fought Golovkin, etc. But are you going to be able to deliver that fight that Chris really wants against Gennady Golovkin?
Absolutely. And by the way, Gennady himself, before his last fight, said he mentioned two opponents possible for this year, and one of them was Chris. So, you know, he's already said the word Eubank. He wants to fight him. And by the way, styles make fights, as they all say at the experts. Styles make fights. And guess what? These two styles fit perfectly. Neither of them, or both of them, have potentially one weakness. There's no reverse gear with them. So for us on the outside watching it,
it's a fucking tear up.
It's a tear up, isn't it? It's you know, it's an all out war. You know, so it's you know, it's a proper gunfight, isn't it? You know, proper. So love that. Love a bit of that. That's a fantastic fight to make. You know, fantastic. And you know, we're basing ourselves at middleweight, and if you want to be a great middleweight, you've got to beat the greatest. And let's face it, at the moment, the king of the middleweights is Triple G.
A fight that won't go away, and we know obviously he's in action next week against Canelo, but Billy Joe Saunders, that fight was several years ago now, but that...
I'm just laughing. Remember that movie, The Legend, with, you know,
Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy, the craze, when he comes into the pub and he goes, came here for a shootout, like in a Western. Right? I don't know why I just thought of that. Fantastic scene, sorry.
What, for Golovkin or for Saunders?
No, I just thought that. No, I was actually talking about Eubank and Golovkin. Sorry, I had a moment of madness there. Continue, please.
I don't know where I am now. But anyway, yeah, a fight that could have happened at some point, hasn't happened yet. We expect it to happen at some point in the future, but because Chris has suffered his first defeat in his career to Billy Joe Saunders all those years ago now, we know that that's a fight that always will appeal to Chris because he'll kind of want to, in his eyes, put that situation right.
I think in both there are. I think, you know, that fight is such big business. And we're in professional boxing, it's a massive fight. It's huge. You know, alone the build-up will be, you know, something from another level, you know. And that's not the old pop band. I mean, it will be a fantastic build up to it. But let me ask you a question. Why did Eubank lose that fight? If you remember back to it, very simple reason. He started after the 6th round, and Billy's a great fighter, and I think he has fantastic chances against Canelo, and I think that the rematch, win or lose next week, is something that everyone will want. I think it's a terrific fight, and it will make big dollars at the box office.
Should we try and make the fight now?
Call Billy.
Should I call Billy?
Let's call Billy up.
I'll try. Can you keep him entertained? Let me see if Billy Joe will answer. This will be interesting.
Billy will be focusing on Canelo.
He will be, but Billy Joe is not shy of. Let's try. Listen, if we don't.
By the way, he looks in terrific shape. He does look in absolute terrific shape.
I'm trying to FaceTime Billy Joe now.
Okay. Probably wait. It's a bit early, isn't it? It's in Vegas.
He's in Vegas. He's probably not going to answer. We're going to try. We're going to try anyway.
He'll probably be on the morning run. But I think next week is a very, very interesting fight because Canelo has had his own way in his last fights. Let's face it. He's managed to boss the game plan, and I think that Billy is all wrong for him if Billy is in shape. Now the pictures I've seen, unless Billy's found a new app on his phone that changes your body and creates 8-packs, he looks fantastic, doesn't he? I mean, so it's mouth-watering, that fight. I mean, it's a great fight. It's good to see Canelo in a proper fight as well. It's a proper fight.
Absolutely. Well, just for people, Billy Joe didn't answer. It is quite early in the morning in Vegas. I will add that, but maybe he may ring back before this interview ceases. Right, here's what I want to talk to you about. Moving away from the card. Now, Filip Hrgović, Michael Hunter.
Okay.
We saw Mr. Morrison put a tweet out, which I'm sure you're aware of, regarding testing and regarding not available for testing, shall we say.
Yeah.
What do you know about that situation regarding Michael Hunter?
Well, first of all, I think that they have this. I know they have this system at the WBC where you've got to provide certain testings, and if you're missing from a test, it's like a strike system. I think it's similar also in football. I remember Rio Ferdinand
Got a lengthy ban for missing a test. Yeah,
but it was a couple of tests. I think, and I think it's at the end of the day, it's not for me to comment on because I'm not representing Michael Hunter in any way, but my guy is fighting him, and I think we'll have to see now what the IBF line on it is, whether that affects them. I'm not familiar with the rules. We've asked them for a clear statement on it, but to be fair to Hunter, he came out straight away and gave his reasons or his beliefs around the situation. I saw that on Twitter. I saw a tweet last night from him. So it's not like he was trying to hide from it. I guess if he's missed one test, then he should quickly do another test, and put it right.
It's a difficult situation to kind of pick the bones from because we don't know everything, and this is always the case when it is a missed test, shall we say, because there could be a legitimate reason for this, but then again they could be not. So it's.
Listen, we were one of the first promoters. In fact, we were the first promoters in the world to operate a full during training testing. I'm talking about the early 2000s already, and it was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, because the fighters had to every time they left home and they were staying somewhere else. And, there's reasons in life why you might be staying somewhere you shouldn't be staying, but you'd have to tell VADA. So, not saying why, but, you know, sometimes men and women don't always sleep where they're supposed to be sleeping, and they weren't
Are
declaring.
you insinuating adultery?
I couldn't spell adultery, but joking aside, those situations did occur, and we get a call from Barney, they missed the test, and I said, I called the fight. I said, where were you? I said, I was here and there. I said, man, you know, well, sort it out. You know, you, this is your job. So unfortunately, it's a side thing. And then we had even some clever lawyers from the boxers who said, well, this is against human rights. They can't do this sort of thing. But, I mean, in the end, it's just part of the job, you know. So you've got to declare where you are. Thank God I'm not a fighter.
All right. I don't know if we want to talk about that or not. But, I mean, look, only boxers kind of know that process of constant testing, I said, during camp, out of camp, etc. Because a big part to it is, you're right, having to declare exactly where you're going to be. You know,
what's I mean, to be crystal on it, no one's saying that Hunter has tested positive or anything. They're just saying he's missed the test. Yeah, so I don't know. I've let the man talk, let the man sort it out. You know, so once again, ain't really my business until the IBF says it's part of our business. So let him sort things out. And you know, I think doping is something in this sport which needs to be absolutely eradicated. So I'm all in favour of this testing, but you know, there's a lot of different testing systems, and you know, I just hope he puts it right so we don't have any problems with the fight. But at the moment, that fight is not in jeopardy. We haven't been told anything else by the IBF, and that's where we are.
Yeah. Well, listen, for the purpose of this conversation, let's give Michael Hunter the benefit of the doubt and say that let's hope there is. I don't actually have Michael Hunter's number, but let's hope it is just a situation that can be cleared up easily and there isn't any kind of wrongdoing, shall we say?
Absolutely. But on this one, I do have sort of faith in Michael Hunter to put that situation straight. I believe the fight will happen late in June in the States. And it's what a terrific fight. I mean, what a terrific fight this weekend as well with Chisora Parker, Hrgovic Hunter. We saw Joyce Dubois. You're seeing all these pick-em fights at heavyweight, you know, which is great for the division outside of the top two, where, you know, we're all hoping that pulls off for the summer, you know. I mean, when you read some of the comments back and forth between Bob and Eddie, it's quite funny actually. Now I could just.
Do you know what? I'd like to label it as a feud, but I don't believe it is. I believe that.
I saw a funny one earlier when Eddie said, "What did he say? He said, Bob's never done a deal this size. Leave it to me, Bob." I can just imagine Bob's reaction to that. But Eddie knows that. He's goading him. He's fishing. Bob's kicking back, you know, in true Bob style, and you know. You got to love Bob with his interviews.
Absolutely, I mean, Bob's like nearly 90 and just,
I mean,
yeah, unbelievable.
Chats with Bob, they're something I'll always remember, because at the end of the day, we can all us young promoters, we can say, you know, this, that, and the other. But Bob has been round the block more times than anyone, and
there won't ever be another Bob Arum.
No, and the way he gives interviews. It really is in that sort of zero fucks given approach, isn't it? You know, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It always reminds me of being in a Goodfellas film. Just the voice, you know. It's actually one on IFL when they had the music on in the background. Shut the fuck up! You know, I'm thinking,
I'm doing an interview.
It's so authentic, so great, but probably it's difficult to do business with as well. You know, character.
Absolutely. Now, will you be tuning in on, I believe, June the 6th to Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul?
Washing my hair that night? Absolutely not. No. Listen, right, I know I went on your record, but I know I had the #1 IFL hit last year with my rant about this.
On social media, yes.
Social media, wasn't top of the pops, but we'll get there. We'll get there, Kug. You know, me and you, we're on the way. But my opinion hasn't changed. You know, in fact, it's probably got even stronger. You know, you can't make it up, can you? And by the way, I am not completely anti this YouTuber thing. I've gone out on record and said what Triller is doing, I have a lot of respect for. When they are lacing gloves up, training properly in the gym, and fighting other novices, yeah. But let's get some dimensions in it. Last time I compared it to a porn star and a virgin. I mean, you know, this is ridiculous. What I'm surprised at is that Showtime's jumped on the bandwagon. They must have had a year of really shitty sales if they're jumping on that. You know, I mean, all credit to Floyd. You know, he's a showman. You know, but you know, is it going to be a real fight? I don't know. Are they going to?
As far as I know, it's an exhibition. I don't think it's ever been.
What does that mean, exhibition? Well, exhibition. I understand that when you know you've got Jimmy Connors playing John McEnroe and they're messing about with each other on a tennis court. I understand that, but in boxing, you know, it's bell goes and you as a fan pay to watch two people go at each other. So in terms of exhibition, what does that mean? He's not going to throw a punch, or he's going to box with one hand. Maybe he'll stand on one leg, you know. But even then, he wouldn't have a chance. A boxer, it's a gift. It's an art form, you know. It's something that the kids go into gyms when they're young and learn and develop and skill themselves over years and years and years. And then you've got someone who's sitting in his dark bedroom making YouTube videos for years and years and becoming very famous doing that.
And probably multi-millionaires. Well, not probably, but they are.
Doing that, which makes me even more confused, because if you're rich and you're making YouTube videos, why do you want to go into boxing? Once again, if they're fighting other guys, like, and to be fair, the Paul brothers, they do seem to train. Yeah, I'm still telling you I'd knock them both out in one night, but at the same time, they, with no gloves on, I think they do take it seriously and they would train, but at the same time, you know, they should be fighting like other novices. Nothing wrong with going and getting your pro license. Hey, I'm all for it. Young guy, you know, I don't even know how old they are, but they're young. They have some sort of a college background of sports, but you understand what I'm saying?
But listen, I would just kind of play devil's advocate here and say that that's Logan Paul, who obviously fought KSI, who's having an exhibition with Floyd Mayweather. Jake Paul, which really the talk is about Jake Paul now, who's fought a fellow YouTuber, Anison Gibb. He's fought, I think, an NFL player, Nate Robinson, and then he fought a former UFC fighter in Ben Askren 2 weeks ago. So,
that's fine.
knocked out all those guys.
I haven't knocked that. I didn't knock that once. I'm just, but don't put Floyd Mayweather in the ring with one of these guys. That's all I'm saying.
That's what you have a problem with. The fact that he's fighting kind of one of the biggest sports stars.
Fight Tommy Fury. Go and fight Tommy Fury.
Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic, because Fury will rip his nuts off, right? But let's at least have it, you know. And I'm all for, that's good, because Tommy Fury's starting up in his career as well. He's also a novice, you know. He's a young fighter. So let's have it, you know. Let them have it, but don't, you know, fight at that level. You wouldn't go on your first pro doing anything in life. You wouldn't go out and try and, you know, face the best, you know, arguably there's ever been. On paper, the best there's ever been, you know.
But you still stand by the point that you'd knock both the Paul brothers out in the same night?
On the cob.
Street fight, or you're on about an street fight?
Yeah.
Head first.
Tools and everything. No problem. I mean, a few weeks training, yeah. Need a little bit back in training, but yeah. But joking aside, the point I'm making is, Coog, is nothing wrong with them trying to be a boxer, all good, but do it the proper way. Do it the way that every other boxer has to go through, and don't try and jump the queue, because there ain't no jumping the queue in boxing. And by the way, it hurts when you jump the queue in boxing. You see it with fighters, by the way. You see it with other pros that are taken too quickly. They're rushed, and they normally end up losing, you know. And, you know, I just question how on earth if that fight goes more than 20 seconds, more than 10 seconds, how are they going to sell that it's not fake? You know, that's the point. Or how are they not going to sell that it's not? But what do you expect?
It's left to interpretation with an exhibition, though, isn't it?
What fight? Mayweather let him stay in there a few extra rounds. Come on, no. This is no. Sorry, no. And McGregor can fight. You know, he's a fighter. He's been a fighting man since many years. These guys haven't. And if Floyd Mayweather lets them stick in that ring more than 12 seconds, I'm turning off. It's fake. You know, might as well watch WWE. You know, at least I know it's fake, and they're actually talented acrobats. And
WWE ain't fake. What are you talking about?
Sorry. I mean, even as a kid, I used to think that parts of it weren't fake, although I knew it was fake. You know, I used to love WWE as a kid, and you'd think, oh, there's a bit of blood there, and it was only later you found out it was a blood capsule.
Remind me a little bit of Randy Savage.
I see myself more as the ultimate warrior, you know, with the face paint. You know, he shakes. You know.
Oh, God, that's going to be a meme.
And he would come in the ring and he'd go, you know. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Well, listen, Kalle, thank you very much for speaking to IFL TV.
Once again, covered some very, very broad subjects today.
As always.
Anyways, we got more time in the bubble, so.
We've got a couple more, 2 or 3 more days, so we can definitely have a follow-up to this if people are interested. Kalle Sauerland, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and we look forward to a great card on Saturday night, live on Sky Sports Box Office and also on DAZN. Let's go.
Let's roll, baby.